Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, back with another video, back with another reaction, and I'm starting a series. Great people from the Balkans, scientists. I did sports people already, some, just people who impacted the world and nobody really know about it. So we're going to do this guy here, Milutin, and yeah, I have to see the last name to pronounce it, but we're going to do him. And from what I've figured out here is he had something to help us understand climate change. So let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what it is he did. Let's go.
Okay, imagine this. Bombs are literally falling outside, buildings crumbling, and inside there's this scientist just hunched over working out these complex climate equations.
Right, like something out of a movie.
Exactly. And then the place printing his life's work gets bombed, just obliterated.
Yeah.
But somehow the pages survive.
And get this, they're pulled from the rubble, partly saved by enemy officers who actually recognized how important the work was. It sounds completely made up.
But it's not. It's a real moment from the life of Milutin Milanković. He's the scientist we're really getting into today.
An absolutely extraordinary figure.
Yeah. You sent over these amazing sources about him, the guy who looked at how planets move and thought, hang on, maybe that's the key to Earth's big climate shifts, like, the ice ages.
He made that connection.
So our plan for this deep dive is basically to unpack all that material you share, pull out the really crucial bits, the takeaways, and give you a kind of shortcut to understanding him, his work, and frankly, his just unbelievable life story.
That's crazy. A Serbian did that. And you hear people talk about this stuff all the time, and nobody ever talks about him. I mean, they probably do in scientific circles, but generally speaking, the general population don't know this. Well, here we go. Let's learn about my man right now. Yes, that.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just about the science, which is groundbreaking, obviously. It's also this incredible story of, well, resilience, sticking to your guns intellectually.
Totally. Against insane odds.
Right. So where do we start? The sources talk about his childhood.
Yeah, let's start there.
Oh.
It wasn't easy. He lost his parents quite young, raised by relatives, no silver spoon situation.
And the sources paint this picture, it's quite poetic actually, of how that early struggle really forged him. They compare it to the Danube River carving through stone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that hardship built this deep resilience, this strength that you see pop up again and again later in his life.
And he found his path, initially at least, in things like logic and math. He did really well, went off to Vienna, became a successful engineer.
Very successful, building actual bridges, aqueducts, like literally laying foundations in the world. Solid stuff.
But then,
wow,
and this is
cool.
fascinating, he makes this huge shift.
This is the pivot, right? 1909, he basically walks away from that secure, well-paid engineering job.
Yeah, leaves it behind.
To take a professorship in Belgrade. Less certain, probably less money, but it was to chase these bigger scientific questions. Celestial mechanics, climate.
He wanted to build theoretical foundations instead. And he starts asking these questions that, well, one source calls them almost heretical for the time.
Like what, specifically?
Like, could these really subtle, tiny changes in how Earth orbits the sun and how it tilts on its axis, could that actually be the main reason for massive events like ice ages?
Which must have sounded kind of wild back then.
Oh, yeah. People were skeptical. Some sources say he faced outright ridicule. Connecting distant planets to glaciers seemed like a huge leap.
But he wasn't put off by that. He had this deep belief in the maths and the physics of it all.
And that belief gets seriously tested. World War I breaks out.
Right. And because he's Serbian, he gets arrested while visiting his family home, which was then in Austria-Hungary.
Wow.
Interned near Budapest.
Just like that. Imagine your mind is buzzing with these potentially world-changing ideas.
And suddenly you're behind barbed wire. Cut off. No books, no resources, nothing.
Most people just shut down,
Right.
intellectually speaking.
Absolutely. But his response was just remarkable. The sources really highlight this.
He called his internment camp a sanctuary of thought. Can you believe that?
It's incredible. He's writing scientific papers on scraps of paper,
Wow,
apparently using
this is-
borrowed books when he could get them, but mostly just working from his memory.
It just shows, doesn't it? You can lock up the body, but you can't imprison the mind.
Yeah.
Not his, anyway.
Yeah.
He actually got a lot of his
Vibe.
core theoretical work done during that time. refined his ideas, and this eventually leads to his magnum opus, the big one.
The canon of insulation of the Earth.
Yeah.
Sounds grand.
It is grand. It pulls together astronomy, math, geology. It's this huge synthesis. And the core idea is the one we mentioned. Long-term climate cycles, especially ice ages, are driven by these predictable changes in Earth's orbit and tilt.
Which we now call the Milankovitch cycles.
Exactly.
You see,
He worked
I
out the
didn't even
maths
know it
for
was
how
called the
these cycles, the
Milankovitch
shape
Cycles
of the
at
orbit
all.
changing, the tilt of the axis varying, the wobble.
The wobble, right. Precession.
Yeah, precession. How all that affects the amount and distribution of sunlight hitting different parts of the Earth over long time scales, especially summer sunlight at high latitudes.
Why is summer sunlight so key?
Because that determines whether the snow and ice from the previous winter melts away or if it survives and starts to accumulate, eventually building up into huge ice sheets. Tiny changes in summer sun can tip that balance.
Okay, so he's figured all this out, writes this massive book, and then, April 1941, the Nazis invade Yugoslavia, Belgrade is bombed.
And the printing house, gone. Destroyed in the bombing raid.
Ugh, all that work, decades of it, just gone.
It seemed like it. But this is where that almost unbelievable story comes in.
Miracle.
Miraculously, the actual printed sheets hadn't been bound yet and had been moved to a warehouse nearby.
Which survived the bombing.
Which survived. And then this is the truly amazing part, too. German army officers who happened to be geologists.
Right, German officers?
Yeah. They somehow found out about this work, understood its scientific importance, and actually helped get a copy of those surviving printed sheets smuggled out to safety in Germany.
Wow. In the middle of a war. Science transcending conflict.
It's an incredible anecdote. But even with the book saved, his ideas still faced a really tough road ahead.
Right, the war ends, but the scientific community still wasn't really buying it.
Not widely, no. For decades, his theories were kind of on the sidelines. A lot of scientists just couldn't accept that these small orbital variations could possibly cause something as huge as an ice age. The scale seemed wrong to them.
So it took more time, more evidence.
It took new ways of looking at the past, new technology, really.
Like what? What finally proved him right?
The sources point to things like deep-sea sediment cores, drilling down into the ocean floor, and also ice cores from places like Antarctica and Greenland.
How do those help?
They contain these layered records of the past, like tree rings, but going back hundreds of thousands of years. And trapped within those layers are chemical...
Isn't it crazy how we have this guy here, Milutin, coming up with all these theories that later become into actual facts, let's say, and he did it all while in Serbia. But all we talk about Serbia is all the dark stuff that happens there. When things that affect the world happen during those dark times too, you know. A dude is in a camp, and he's sitting there using his intellect. He's trying to solve the natural world, while the man-made world is trying to destroy itself. And through all of that, he managed to come up with this vibe, you know what I mean? To explain stuff that we are using today to understand climate and climate change and all that stuff. That's fascinating, man.
Clues, isotopes, dust, air bubbles that tell you about past temperatures, atmospheric composition, basically Earth's climate history.
Ah, so like a direct record.
A direct record. And when scientists finally had these long, detailed records and they could date them accurately, they compared the climate shifts they saw, the ice ages, the warm periods.
Let me guess. They matched Milankovitch cycles.
Bingo! The timing lined up beautifully. The major swings in global climate recorded in the cores corresponded incredibly well with the timing and the intensity of the solar energy variations that Milankovitch had calculated based on orbital mechanics decades before.
Wow. So, vindication. Finally.
Complete vindication. His cycles went from being this fringe idea to being, as the sources say, the absolute cornerstone of paleoclimatology. You can't study past climates without them.
So today he's
Paleoclimatology.
seen as
The founder of planetary climatology, essentially.
Oh, God.
He showed this fundamental link between the dance of the planets, as one source puts it, and the climate right here on Earth.
and it's not just about the past, right? His work informs current climate science, too.
Absolutely. Understanding these natural cycles is crucial for putting modern climate change in context. Plus, geology, even searching for habitable planets elsewhere, is huge. He showed the universe isn't just chaos, it's got these deep rhythms, these patterns, these laws. A symphony, one source called it.
That's a
Wow,
great way
that's
to put it.
huge.
But, beyond the pure science, the sources really push us to think about the man himself. His life is an example.
Yeah, they pose these direct questions really aimed at you, the listener. What can you take away from his journey?
Right. Dealing with that early loss, taking that big career gamble.
Being imprisoned, facing decades of people doubting your life's work. How did he turn all that negativity, all those obstacles into fuel, into opportunity? It's like, yeah, he took the literal prison walls and made them disappear mentally, creating his own space to think. He took the skepticism and used it to make his calculations even more rigorous.
Yeah, he showed that your external situation doesn't have to dictate your internal state or what you can achieve.
So when we're facing our own challenges, our own walls, maybe feeling stuck or doubted,
Milankovich's story is this powerful reminder, isn't it? That adversity doesn't have to be the end. It can be the start of something. Those walls, whether they're real or
Man,
in our
this is so
heads,
cool.
they aren't necessarily impenetrable.
he just dared to ask those big, uncomfortable questions. He dared to keep going when things looked hopeless. And he believed his work mattered, that it would eventually make a difference.
So maybe here's the thought to leave you with, drawing from these sources. What if that obstacle you're facing right now, what if it isn't just a roadblock?
What if it's actually the thing that's shaping you, like the river carving the stone?
Exactly. What if the hardship is actually the crucible needed to form your best work, your deepest insights? Because, like Milankovitch figuring out planetary cycles during wartime darkness. A single focused mind, driven by curiosity and sheer will, that can genuinely light up the world.
A powerful thought.
Indeed. And on that note, that's our deep dive.
This is cool. This is so cool because, he was of a different generation, right? That was World War One started. And out of World War One, this brilliance come out. You understand what I'm saying? And what they say in there, through the struggles, you you persevere and great things come out. Now you could bring that forward to the tennis player Nikola Jokic. He experienced all the wars and the strife and stuff, and he came out this great tennis player. So you see, that's why I always say people who haven't been through that type of a trauma there doesn't understand how people come out of there being happy or even living through the trauma and being happy and going about their daily lives and stuff. Now, human beings have this ability, which we don't use very often, to persevere through that kind of stuff. And I don't mean come out on the other side and just be regular, but come out on the other side and be extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? That thing. And when you look at places like that, like the Balkans and stuff, how they come out of all this stuff and still doing extraordinary things. And it's the same all over the world. You have people from the Caribbean coming out of strife and doing extraordinary stuff. People from South America coming out of doing extraordinary stuff. Now, if you notice, it's sort of a silent thing. People don't talk about it that much. So you don't know where stuff come from originally because we're paying attention to where it is now. We have to pay attention to where it come from in order for us to understand where it is now and the sacrifices that people made before to get to this point and where they come from. Where they come from, that's important too. This was a really good deep dive into this man's life and thing. And I'll be honest with you, I did not know this. I learned something today. I did not know about this gentleman at all. I know some about climate change and the planetary vibes and stuff like that, but I did not know that it was somebody from Serbia, the Balkan area, who was the father of this thing. You understand what I'm saying? That's the kind of things they should tell coming out of there instead of just, we are so seduced by toxicity and turmoil, that all we seeing is what's happening at the time, but not what comes out of there, you know. And even if we check on what comes out of a place, we thinking of the bad stuff instead of the stuff that actually shapes and helps mankind in general. Now, in the comment section, please tell me, you know, I'm assuming that most Serbians know this, but if you know this and you learn about him in school, hit me up in the comment section. Tell me about it. And if you didn't know about it and you're not Serbian, or you're like a Serbian who lives elsewhere, and you're not going to get taught this at all in the schools where you are. If you live in like Germany, Australia, US, Canada, you're not going to get taught this. Is this something new for you? Let me know in the comment section. This is quite interesting here. I hope you guys enjoyed this here as much as I did. You drop a like on the video, and like I said, please comment in the comment section. Tell me what the vibe is and thing. You know, and like I said, this could be a new series. You know, great people from the Balkans. You know what I mean? Let's put it out there. You understand what I mean? Hope you guys are having a great day. You know, take care of each other. Let's try to keep peace in this world. Okay.